Hello, my new skin family. My name is Charlie Patterson, and I have the opportunity of being with you here today and coming up on my 21st year anniversary on February 1st, where I have been with the company for 21 years. I have been a team elite for 19 of those years and a Blue Diamond for 20. I've been fortunate to be surrounded by incredible mentors and individuals that invested in me over the last 2 decades plus that has really created a individual myself that is bulletproof around the business. And so I want to talk about how our business moves at the speed of trust. All right. Now, my background is in athletics. I was an athlete all through my younger years into college. I was recruited to UCLA for football. I was recruited to University of Oregon for track and field. And I chose to go to Oregon as a pole vaulter, where I really had great vision for what I would do with the sport until I saw the sport of wakeboarding in my going into my senior year, where I caught a vision that was so massive that the fear that I had was actually missing it and living in regret for the rest of my life. That led me to moving from Oregon to Florida across the United States, where I had never been, to immerse myself in and amongst the top pro wakeboarders in the world. It was really at the infancy of the sport that I was not aware that it was the beginning, because I felt like it was moving beyond me and past me. And was I too late? Well, now looking back, 40 years later, that into that time, correction, 30 years, that I saw and learned that I was really at the very beginning of the sport and had influence on it. But I must immerse myself in the community of who was moving in the same direction that I wanted to go. And that led me to becoming the average of those that I surrounded myself with, that I rode with every single day, and that allowed me to be influenced by, that I had the desire to be more like them, to ride like them, to learn how to ride and to become one of their peers. That required me being around them. That required me to have immersion into that community. And ultimately, not only became their average, but became one of the top paid in the sport for my tenure. I woke up one day and looked out on the water that I lived on, and I never wanted to do it again. That fire and the inspiration that I had burning so bright for over 10 years was gone. I immediately was overcome with fear of losing my lifestyle. And I went looking for the next chapter of my life that would provide me or give me the opportunity to build a leveraged asset versus a linear one that I had been doing as a professional athlete, much like small business owners, self-employed, and also employees. The very same linear income, it doesn't matter if it's here, here, or here, that when you stop, that income stops. I was exposed to Nu Skin in January 2003, where I was resistant. I said thanks with no thanks. I wasn't interested. Grateful to the person that introduced me to the business, even though they're no longer in it, because they said, you don't know what you're not interested in. And would you just kindly come in and make me look good, support me in something that I just started a couple weeks ago, which I said I'm happy to do, not knowing that I would find myself believing that I was seeing the biggest opportunity that I may ever see in my life. And once again, just like wakeboarding, I was left with a feeling of, what if I don't do it? A greater fear that it would happen without me, a fear of living in regret and saying, I wish I would have, or asking, what if I would have? That moved me to take action. And I was led immediately by greats in the business and asked them a question: who is my number one friend? Who is the number one person in my life that I would want to work with? And that's a question that I ask you. Who is the number one person that you would like to work with in this business, that you have credibility with, that you have trust? Now, they know all the great things about you, and thus with your relationship. They know a lot of things about you that may, I remember that one time, right? But that is a relationship. And our business moving at the speed of trust, I encourage you to stay in the line of relationship where you have credibility. Ideally, you've been a person that has done what you said you would do. Now, if you're not, or you look back and you see where you haven't, now is that time to continue to tell people what you're going to do and then do it. So you build that pile of evidence of trust and credibility. Now, as you look at that individual, I'm going to talk about a tactic, right? A tactic to increase leverage, right? Increase value, and also increase fear of loss. Then I want you to take a piece of paper out and write the name of that individual that I just asked you about. Who's the number one person in your life you would like to work with, that you have trust and credibility with? Who is that individual? Write their name down at the top of the paper. Now I want you to write down everyone's name that you know with them. Everyone's name. Now, this is going from goal setting, right? Where you have a goal for the month of January, ideally, and you are moving to create your contact list. Starting with a person that you want to work with, and then filling out that contact list in a vertical fashion of all of the individuals that you know with them. I'm not asking you who you think would be interested. I'm not asking who you think would be open. I'm not asking you who you think would be the right timing. I'm just asking and recommending that you write down all of the individuals that you know with them. This is a very strategic, tactical approach that will allow you to create leverage and fear of loss, because as we join the business, as you've joined the business, when I joined the business, I did so because I had hope. I saw opportunity. I saw a solution for my problems. I saw a path to get what I wanted and ultimately to build a leveraged asset. Once I created my account, well, the feeling of missing out that I had before I signed up and it happened without me was gone immediately as soon as I created that account. As a result, I'm left with, well, what's going to happen? Driving lines is a strategy that we can continue to increase the opportunity, increase the vision, increase the hope that one has, as well as increasing by design fear of loss. Excuse me. Fear of loss is important because in our compensation plan, being a stair-step breakaway, as you move through the front into the middle and to the back end of the compensation plan, and then you progress through the leadership portion of the plan, going from gold to lapis to ruby, emerald, diamond, blue diamond, and team elite, you are picking up greater depths of generations of the back end that you're compensated on your brand representatives. As a gold, you're paid one generation deep. As a lapis, you're paid two. As a ruby, you're paid three. As an emerald, you're paid four. As a diamond, you're paid five. And as a blue diamond and team elite, you're paid six generations deep. Now, as an upline, in order for someone to go wider, okay, and progress from gold to lapis to ruby, emerald, diamond, and blue diamond, there must be depth in the business. There must be depth in the organization. It's important to have volume outside of your line of pain. So whatever the pay line is, if you're gold, you're paid one generation deep, lapis, you're paid two generations deep. It's important, crucial even, that you have volume below and outside of the pay line of the line. So a gold must have volume in generation 2, 3, and 4. A lapis must have volume on generation 3, 4, and 5. A ruby must have volume on generation 4, 5, 6. An emerald must have volume on 5 and 6. A diamond must have volume on 6, 7, 8, 9. And a blue diamond must have volume below 6 generations deep. Our target is for every line that you would like to keep, 10 generations deep of brand representatives. 10 generations deep of every brand, of every line that you want to keep. Now, I call this my flossing your teeth philosophy. Do you have to floss all of your teeth? No, just the ones you want to keep. Do you have to drive every leg 10 brand reps deep? No, just the legs you want to keep. Beginning with who is your number one friends, and then driving lines in that community, that circle of influence with the individuals that you know together. One of the biggest challenges with starting a business is the average person will go out and talk to four people and quit because they do it by themselves. They do it with a low belief, posture, and scared even, as I was when I started in February 1st, 2004. Starting with the person that you want to work with the best and creating a list of the people you know with them. And ideally, you be in the upline doing so. You don't need the individual to reach out and do invitations and blow up their themselves in how they're doing the business, because you're doing it with them, or you're doing it without them, because you know the line, you know the group of people together. So whether they take action or not, you have a list to work off of that you can specifically and strategically drive that line with them to create duplication, but if not, without them, at the very least, to be able to solidify the line, increase the fear of loss, because if they don't go to brand representative, they lose the business. If they don't maintain brand representative, they lose the business. And so business moving at the speed of trust. 1 + 1 is not 2. In this example, as you increase the number of individuals that are a part of that community, that circle of influence, that sphere of influence, 1 + 1 is 3. And as you have 1, 2, 3 people in the community that are on board, there becomes a greater fear of loss that is happening without someone, so that people will begin to get involved because they're scared of missing it. The more and more individuals in the community that are a part of the business with you, the greater amount of fear of loss that you have with the business. Now, how to go about this, right? And I simply just create the list, and then I reach out to the individuals on how I normally communicate with them, and in a text message, in one of the platforms of social media and messaging, a voice note, a phone call, and just simply reach out to catch up and reconnect. Very likely there's going to be people, some of them you have talked to a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, and just simply reach out when we get day and time that you could connect and catch up, and just get it on the calendar, get them on the calendar. Go back to the individual that you initially put at the top of the list, schedule with them, and invite them to look at what you are doing based on what you understand their needs, their reasons, their voids, their problems that they have. The question is, well, how do you know those things? You simply ask. You just ask. You ask how they're doing, what they're doing. Ask them to tell you about what's going on in business, what's going on in their career, tell you about what's going on in the family. Invest in that relationship. Seek to understand, to be understood. And when you invest in that and ask questions about them, you find out about what's going on in their world, in their life, what's working, what's not working. And you simply frame an invitation. If I could show you, if I knew of a solution to help you get X, Y, and Z, would you like me to share it with you? And nearly every one of those invitations is a yes. When it's not, it's, well, I have some more questions, and that will lead to them asking more questions. Remember, there is no presentation in the invitation. Again, there is no presentation in the invitation. Keep them separate. And when you invite someone to look at something based on what they want and what they need, your result will be compoundingly better. If you work in a shared circle of influence and drive the lines of people that know each other, you're going to build more and more credibility with the group when you do what you say you're going to do. And every single one of those engagements, you tell people what you're going to do. And I'm not talking about new skinese or new skin language. I'm saying where you're going, by when, and then do it. You will tell them that everyone, if you take this approach and you're working in circles of influence and creating a team, that everyone that is in your group, in your circle of influence, will go vertically in that leg till the end of time. Whether you talk to them or they talk to them or the group talks to them, you're driving a line, you're building a team, and the value to them is that everyone you know together with them will be in their business. So plug in, get your tickets for Success Summit coming up in July in the United States. We have a leadership event coming up in March, the third weekend, third Friday and Saturday of March here at the corporate headquarters. And when you get your tickets, you will have access to our previous events, presentations, and videos, where I just gave a 90-minute presentation on driving lines with this exact example and going into greater detail. From my home in Sisters, Oregon, this is Charlie Patterson. I look forward to seeing you at one of our upcoming events. You make it a great week and a great month end.